Hey, my fantastic new friend. Seeing you here watching this video is like finding a $20 bill in an old jacket pocket. Pure, unexpected joy. That subscribe button is practically winking at you, so maybe give it some love. Let's roll. The dew still clung to the pavement when my phone vibrated. 5:37 a.m. Saturday morning. I was already awake, hoisting my golf bag into the bed of my F-350, following the same ritual I'd upheld every Saturday for a decade and a half. Jim's name lit up the screen. Brooks, bad news. Katie's sick, some stomach bug. Stuck with dad duty. Can we push the round? I froze mid-sip, coffee mug in hand. Our Saturday foursome was more than tradition. It was sacred. Jim, Paul, Derek, and I had been teeing off together since the days our kids still wore footy pajamas. Now those kids were nearing college, and our weekly games had become less about golf and more about keeping our grip on reality. No problem. Hope she's all right, I texted back. Still standing in the garage, fully dressed, the navy golf shirt Natalie wrapped for me last Christmas. Khakis. My lucky Titleist hat. A sunrise smeared amber and coral across the quiet neighborhood. Now what? Might as well jumpstart the Henderson account, I muttered, not thrilled at the thought of the thick stack of contracts awaiting my attention. Weekends were supposed to be off limits, a principle I believed in, even as the regional sales manager at Apex Construction Supply. But with the quarterly report due first thing Monday, maybe this was the universe cutting me a break. I walked back inside to let Natalie know. The bedroom was dim, a soft hum of early morning stillness. She lay cocooned in those Egyptian cotton sheets she swore were life-changing. Golden strands of hair sprawled across the pillow, glowing faintly in the dawn light. Even after 18 years, she had the power to stop me in my tracks. Nat, I whispered, hand on her shoulder. No golf. Jim bailed. I'm heading to the office. She stirred, green eyes blinking open. What time is it? Just before 6. His daughter's sick. She pushed up on one elbow, now more alert. Oh no, that's a bummer. You were excited to break in those new irons. Her fingers slipped into mine, warm and reassuring. Well, she smiled. Don't forget I've got that spa day at 9, the birthday gift. Right. The Serenity Springs package. $400 for what she affectionately called necessary upkeep. I'd stopped questioning the price tag long ago. Happy wife, happy life. Enjoy every second, I said, bending down to kiss her forehead. You deserve it. Love you, she murmured, already curling back into sleep. I'll be home by 4, I added. Maybe Marcello's for dinner? She smiled without opening her eyes. Perfect. I grabbed my laptop and headed out. With no rush hour clogging the roads, the drive to the office barely took 20 minutes. By the time I'd made solid headway on the Henderson paperwork, the phone rang. 7:23 a.m. Jim again. Hey, how's Katie? I asked as I answered. False alarm, Jim practically shouted. Turns out she just overdid it on pizza at Amber's sleepover. She's bouncing off the walls now. We're back on for 9 if you're in. Paul and Derek are good to go. I glanced at the glowing screen of my laptop, then at the dense pile of documents beside it. The work would still be here Monday, but a shot at trying out my new Callaway Rogues? That wasn't guaranteed. I'm in, I said, already powering down my computer. Perfect. Oh, heads up. Derek's bringing his brother-in-law. You remember the guy who swears he's a +2? I laughed. This ought to be interesting. See you at 9. The ride out to Oakwood Country Club wound through familiar streets. Past the elementary school where Natalie and I first crossed paths during a parent-teacher night. She was the enthusiastic room mom. I was the lone dad who'd bothered to show up. Past the park where we'd taught our kids to pedal without training wheels. Past the old stone church where we'd renewed our vows at 10 years. Life wasn't perfect, but it was good. We'd had our share of trials. The year I lost my job and had to scrape by doing contract work. The miscarriage between Tyler and Emma. That rough patch 5 years back when everything felt strained. Too much work. Too little time. Too many silences. But we didn't quit. We went to therapy. We learned to talk again. We fought to stay connected. And we came through it. Together. At least that's what I believed. I rolled into Oakwood's flawless lot at exactly 8:15 a.m. Still early enough to loosen up on the range, maybe snag a breakfast sandwich from the clubhouse grill. The morning light stretched across the course. painting long shadows over the immaculate greens. The air still carried that crisp scent of freshly watered grass. Sprinklers had just shut off, leaving behind that unmistakable aroma golfers can't resist. And that's when I saw it. Tucked away in the farthest corner of the parking lot, far from the clubhouse, sat a sleek silver Mercedes S-Class. Its custom plate made my stomach clench. B. Pearson, Brad Pearson, my colleague. The same Brad who'd called out sick for yesterday's regional meeting, citing some family crisis. The same guy who had publicly made fun of my weekend golf habit at last year's company picnic. The same guy who'd struggled to identify a golf club if it wasn't in a car's trunk. So what the hell was Brad doing here at my country club this early in the morning? Chapter 2. The Arrival. I stayed parked, engine humming, watching that car for a full 60 seconds. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe Brad had recently taken up the game. Maybe he was meeting someone, maybe a client. Maybe whatever emergency had kept him from work yesterday had magically resolved overnight and he'd decided to try something new. Sure. And maybe today I'd shoot a perfect round. Something didn't sit right. That uneasy itch when things don't add up, when the math's wrong or the story doesn't hold. I'd felt it before. Same instinct I had when the Patterson contract mysteriously slipped to a rival firm last year, right before we learned Brad had accidentally leaked our pricing. But he'd wriggled out of that one too. Swore it was a coincidence, that Patterson's nephew just happened to work at the competitor. Mike Harrison, our CEO, had bought it. Everyone deserves a second chance, Stephen, he'd told me. Besides, Brad's numbers are too strong to lose over a hunch. I grabbed my clubs and made my way toward the pro shop. "Morning, Mr. Brooks," Rick called as I stepped inside. Good kid, mid-20s, manned the counter while finishing a business degree. "I heard your foursome almost backed out." "Almost," I nodded, scribbling my name onto the tee sheet. "Hey, Rick, random question for you," I said casually. "You happen to spot Brad Pearson this morning?" Silver Mercedes out back. Rick's face flickered. First recognition, then a quick mask of neutrality. No, can't say I have, Mr. Brooks. But I just clocked in at 8. He might have been on one of the early slots." I knew Rick. Tipped him well, knew his tells. The kid couldn't bluff to save his life. "Right," I said slowly. "Well, if you see him, tell him I was asking." "We work together." "Sure thing, sir." I walked out toward the range, but I was already drifting. My swings felt off, automatic, distracted. My focus was stuck on that Mercedes, on Rick's sudden poker face, on Brad's conveniently timed illness, on Natalie's spa retreat yesterday. No, I slammed the thought down hard. 18 years, 2 kids, a mortgage, and a whole life built on trust. You don't tear that apart over some coincidence. Still, the idea had rooted itself. And like a weed, it started spreading. I'd noticed a few things lately. Small things. Natalie's sudden commitment to a 5-day-a-week gym routine. The new passcode she put on her phone for security. 3 dresses I didn't recall her mentioning, all bought last month. Our physical closeness, once sporadic, now practically non-existent, always with a reason, exhausted, headache, early morning meeting. "Stop it, Stephen, you're spiraling." But then a memory popped up. Last month's credit card bill. A charge from Victoria's Secret. She'd said it was for her sister's bachelorette party. Only her sister's party had been in June. And that charge? It was dated September. "Brooks, there you are!" Jim's voice jolted me out of my spiral. He strolled up with Paul and Derek, all smiles, slinging their golf bags over their shoulders. "You good, man?" Paul asked, giving me a curious once-over. "You look like someone gave you bad news." "Just work stuff," I said, forcing a smile. A lie, of course. But what else could I say? Where was this so-called golf prodigy brother-in-law? "He'll be late," Derek muttered, rolling his eyes. "Classic Todd," he added. "Bet he's still debating which one of his 6 luxury drivers to bring." We moved toward the first tee box. I tried to lock in, find that familiar rhythm we always had. Jim's endless pre-shot routine. Paul's non-stop critiques of every swing. Derek's hopeless guesswork on reading greens. Just another Saturday. Still, I couldn't shake it. That Mercedes back in the lot, it clung to my thoughts like a thorn. After our drives on the first hole, I made up a reason to double back. Told them I'd forgotten my lucky ball marker in the truck. I hopped in a cart and veered off, pretending to loop back the normal way. But the course layout had fairways running parallel. If you knew the paths, you could cut across. That's when I spotted the other cart. Chapter 3. The Discovery. It was tucked away in a thicket of oaks, somewhere between holes 6 and 7. Nowhere near a designated path, totally out of sight from both fairways. The kind of spot you'd expect high schoolers to sneak off to, not a place anyone searches for a stray ball. I should have turned around, headed back, acted like I'd never noticed it. But I shut off the engine and let the cart roll downhill quietly. The early sunlight dappled through the branches, casting soft shadows across the grass. Birds chirped somewhere overhead. It might have felt peaceful, if my heart wasn't pounding against my ribs. Then I heard it. Her laugh. That unmistakable, lilting laugh I'd fallen for at a PTA mixer 18 years ago. The same one that used to echo through our apartment. That once brought warmth to cold hospital nights when Emma was on the way. That had grown faint, nearly gone over this past year. But not now. No, now it was vibrant, lively, warm in a way I hadn't heard in months. I stepped out, leaving the cart behind near an old maintenance shed. My soft-soled golf shoes were silent on the dew-covered ground. Part of me, most of me, hoped I was wrong. That when I looked through those trees, I'd find Natalie chatting with her book club, maybe some bizarre outdoor meeting. That there'd be a simple, harmless reason she was here instead of at the spa like she'd told me. I reached the edge of the tree line and looked. Time stopped. Natalie was there, sitting in the cart. But she wasn't reading, wasn't meeting anyone. She was curled into Brad Pearson, one hand resting lightly on his chest, his arm wrapped comfortably around her waist. She wore a sundress I'd never seen before, white with delicate blue flowers, the kind she used to wear back when we first met. Her hair was loose, catching the morning light just right, and they were kissing. Not a friendly peck, not a mistake, a kiss that had routine to it. That belonged to people who'd kissed like this before, people who'd done this many times. My vision shrank. The birds fell silent. Everything else dropped away, except that cart, those two people, and the sound of my breath catching in my chest. Brad's hand slid along her thigh. She didn't stop him. She leaned into him instead, whispered something that made him smirk. That same smug look he had when he stole the Patterson account. 18 years. 18 years of marriage, of building a home, of promises made, dreams shared, trust earned day by day. Gone. Vanished, like dew under sunlight. Like none of it had ever mattered. I must have made a sound. A sharp exhale. A low, involuntary growl. Something shifted. Natalie's head jerked up, startled. Across a perfectly trimmed expanse of green, our eyes locked. I saw the blood drain from her face as clearly as if someone had pulled a plug. Her lips moved to form my name, but I was already on the move. Chapter 4. The Rage Decision. The golf cart beneath me thrummed like it had a pulse as I jammed it into reverse, then slammed it forward, the electric engine squealing in protest. 18 years of buried resentment, of whatever you say, honey, of pretending that happy wife, happy life was enough, of grueling work weeks while she floated from book clubs to facials. All of it erupted in one white-hot moment of fury. My foot dropped, smashing the accelerator to the floor. The cart lurched forward, just 15 miles per hour. But it felt like I was breaking the sound barrier. I rocketed past the maintenance shed in a streak of movement. The carefully maintained fairway turned to a blur beneath my wheels, as I aimed straight for their cart. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw golfers frozen in place. Someone shouted. I couldn't have cared less. Let the entire Oakwood Country Club witness this. Let them all see what Stephen Brooks did, when someone crossed a line that should never be crossed. Brad spotted me barreling toward him. His expression collapsed, that smirk finally erased. He fumbled at the ignition like a man defusing a bomb with trembling hands. Good. Let him feel panic crawl up his spine. Let him choke on it. Stephen! Natalie screamed my name. Too late. I was past reason, past civility, past the carefully constructed image of the suburban dad who organized carpool schedules and coached Little League. That man was gone. In his place was something elemental, something raw. The space between us disappeared. 30 yards. 20. 10. Suddenly I could see everything in perfect clarity. The lipstick smeared on Brad's collar. My wife's lipstick. The sheer panic in both their eyes. Brad's hand still resting on her thigh, even as he struggled with the keys. The champagne bottle wedged in the cup holder. Champagne at 8 a.m.? Real classy. At the last moment, Brad yanked Natalie sideways. They spilled out of the cart in a graceless heap. Limbs tangled, bodies hitting the turf. I didn't hit the brakes, didn't even consider it. My cart slammed into theirs with a visceral crack, plastic and metal shattering. The jolt pitched me forward, but I held tight, shoving their cart sideways until it flipped into a sand trap, landing with a jarring crash. Then silence. A deep, ringing silence. Until I heard Brad's voice, cursing, disoriented, trying to pull Natalie upright. Her white sundress, the one I'd never seen before, was a mess. Streaked with grass, clotted with sand. One sandal missing, her perfectly done hair now tangled and windblown. She looked exactly like what she was. Caught. Chapter 5. The confrontation. I jumped from the cart, adrenaline sharpening every sound and detail. The acrid stench of burnt wiring from the crash. The sting of sunlight overhead. The murmuring crowd forming around us. Golfers abandoning their games for front-row seats. Lovely morning for a round, huh, Brad? My voice carried easily, slicing through the silence. Thought you said there was a family emergency. Brad staggered back, still trying to get Natalie to stand. His shirt was untucked, his pants stained with grass and dirt. He looked like a teenage boy caught sneaking out of his girlfriend's bedroom. Except this wasn't some juvenile stunt. This was my wife. Stephen, please, just let me explain, he said, holding his hands up like I was armed. I laughed. Not a nice laugh. The kind of sound that makes your spine tighten. Oh, by all means, Brad. Explain it to me. I took a step closer. Explain how helping Natalie work on her swing involves your hand on her thigh. Tell me how this counts as a new wellness treatment. I'm listening. Natalie managed to stand, wobbling on her one remaining sandal. Her cheeks were flushed, and tears brimmed in her eyes. This was the same woman I'd stood by through the loss of her father, supported during 2 grueling pregnancies, and stuck with through every curveball life had pitched at us. And now here she was, weeping, because I'd found her entangled with another man. This isn't what it seems, she said, reaching for me. I took a step back and pulled out my phone. Really? Because to me it looks an awful lot like my wife, and my colleague getting cozy on a golf course at 8 a.m. I hit the record button, ensuring the video captured everything. Both of them. The flipped-over golf cart. The crowd that had started to form. What's the matter, Brad? Couldn't swing for a hotel on your paycheck? Or is fooling around with someone else's wife out in the open just part of the fun? Stephen, please, Natalie begged, panicked. Not here. Let's go home and talk. Home? I echoed, zooming the camera in on her tear-streaked face. You mean the home I pay for? The one where you told me this morning, before your so-called spa appointment, that you loved me? That home? More club members were showing up. I spotted a few familiar faces. Dr. Patterson from the hospital, the Henderson couple from our street, even Judge Martinez. He'd played in last year's charity tournament I hosted. They were all staring now, watching the two of them, like some wreck on the side of the freeway. Phones came out one by one. Someone else started recording. Then another. Then another. Good. Let everyone see. Chapter 6. The Fallout on the Fairway. A golf course ranger came speeding up in his patrol cart, amber lights flashing. It was Tom Brennan. Retired cop, 60 years old, who treated his job like he was still on the force. Perfect. Mr. Brooks, he barked as he jumped out. You can't crash carts like that, that's club property. I didn't stop filming. Bill me, Tom. Every dime's worth it to put this circus on display. I turned to the spectators. Folks, allow me to introduce Brad Pearson and Natalie Brooks. They've been enjoying your country club, not just for golf, but for their little secret rendezvous. So much for the high standards of Oakwood, huh? Gasps and murmurs moved through the group. Someone whispered, Isn't that the lady from the Memorial Day cookout? Another voice chimed in. I know Brad, I work with him. His wife just had a baby. Brad's face drained of color. Stephen, come on, he said, trying to compose himself. Let's deal with this quietly. Quietly? I scoffed. You mean like you've been quietly dealing with my wife? I stared him down. How long, Brad? How long have you two been sneaking around? He stayed silent, lips pressed tight. But Natalie, honest to a fault, incapable of lying convincingly, cracked. 3 months, she murmured. The words hit harder than any punch. 3 months, 12 weeks, 90 days of betrayal. 3 months, I repeated, loud enough for all to hear. Let me think. That lines up with the Denver conference, doesn't it? The one where you both got food poisoning and couldn't attend your panels? Brad's face told me I'd nailed it. And then there was that August team retreat, I went on, as everything began clicking into place. You both left early. Natalie had a migraine, and Brad, you claimed a dental emergency. The crowd thickened. Someone in a neon pink polo muttered, I know that guy, saw him on LinkedIn. He's in construction supplies, right? This was going better than I could have imagined. Chapter 7. Cracks in the Glass. I turned the camera back to Natalie. So what was the plan after this, huh? Head back to the spa to set your story straight? Maybe get your hair done just in case I got suspicious? She sobbed harder now, mascara running in dark streaks down her cheeks. Stephen, please, she choked out. The kids. My voice turned ice cold. Don't you dare bring Tyler and Emma into this. They're exactly where they're supposed to be. Tyler at basketball camp, Emma at SAT prep. While their mother's out here acting like she's in high school again. Tom was on his radio, probably trying to reach management or get backup. I didn't have much time. I scrolled through my contacts until I found the number for Mike Harrison, our company's CEO. I hit call, speaker on, volume up, Stephen. Mike's voice cut through the air like a thunderclap. Figured you'd be hitting balls by now. I am, I replied, my voice cold. I'm at Oakwood Country Club with Brad and Natalie. Funny thing, Brad's family crisis involves racing golf carts with my wife. A beat of silence. I'm sorry, what? You heard exactly what I said, I continued. Brad isn't dealing with a sick relative. He's here, at my club, with my wife. They've been seeing each other for 3 months, I added, my voice like ice. There are dozens of witnesses. And more importantly, video. Brad? Mike's tone turned razor sharp. Brad Pearson? He told me his mom was in the ER. I turned toward Brad, who now looked like he'd seen a ghost. Want to fill Mike in, Brad? I asked. Or are you too tied up right now to speak with your boss? Stephen, listen, I need a second, Brad stuttered. You've got 5 minutes to check your inbox, Mike, I said. The video's on its way. Oh, and while you're at it, maybe go over Brad's expense report from the Denver trip. Room service for 2 ought to raise a few flags now. Then I ended the call before Mike could respond. Chapter 8. The Questions. I advanced on them, my voice rising with every step. How many times? I demanded. How often did you sneak around while I was at work? When I was away on business? While I was coaching Tyler's basketball games? Natalie instinctively stepped back, but there was no escape. The sand trap behind her, the crowd closing in on all sides. How many hotel bookings, Brad? How many extended lunches? How many laughs at my expense? At the fool who never caught on? We never made fun of you, Natalie whispered. Oh, well, that changes everything, I snapped. You didn't mock me while you slept with him. That's so reassuring. Someone behind me, maybe Dr. Patterson, tried to intervene. Stephen, maybe you ought to... What, Doc? Take the moral high ground? Play the enlightened man? Pretend it doesn't matter? I whirled around to face him. Would you stay calm if this was your wife? He didn't answer. I turned back to Brad, fury simmering. Tell me, Brad, when you showed up at my house for Emma's graduation party, had it already started? Had you already begun sleeping with her? When you shook my hand that night and told me I'd raised incredible kids, had you already been in my bed? Brad said nothing. He didn't need to. The silence spoke louder than words. And at the company softball game, I pressed on, memories crashing down like waves. When Natalie brought snacks for the whole team, you cracked that joke about her being everyone's favorite wife. Everyone laughed. I stared at him. Were you already sleeping with her then? Yes, Brad finally said, barely audible. We were. The words dropped into the silence like a stone in still water. Chapter 9. The Work Connection. Tom, the club ranger, returned, this time flanked by Richard Stanton, the club's general manager. I'd played dozens of rounds with Richard. His daughter was in Emma's graduating class. Stephen, Richard said slowly, carefully, like he was approaching a cornered animal. We need you to de-escalate. Property's being damaged. I'll cover the cost, I said, my voice dead even. Every last dollar. Send me the invoice. In fact, make sure it says golf cart destroyed while catching cheating spouse, and frame it for me. Richard looked over at Tom. They exchanged a tense, uncertain glance. Stephen, you're clearly angry. I get that. But my phone buzzed with a message from Mike. Meet me in my office, Monday at 8 a.m., both of you. I turned the screen toward Brad. Looks like we've got an early start, my friend. Think your mom will be doing better by then? Just then, Brad's phone lit up. He glanced at the caller ID and whatever color he had left drained from his face. It's Lisa, he mumbled. His wife, the mother of their baby boy. You should take it, I said calmly. Maybe she's already seen the video. Don't you love modern tech? He ignored the call. It rang again, instantly. 3 months, I announced loud and clear so no one would miss it. 3 months of deceit, late nights at the office, business dinners. I turned to Natalie. Tell me, did you ever feel any shame? When you kissed me goodnight after spending the evening with him? When you sat at our table wearing the necklace I gave you? Did it even cross your mind what you were doing to our family? Chapter 10. The Rangers Report. Richard and Tom were adamant I had to leave. I gave a cooperative nod. Of course. Just need to complete an incident report first, right, Tom? Insurance protocol, yeah? Tom hesitated, clearly uneasy, but pulled out the paperwork. I'll need your details, he said. Stephen Michael Brooks, I replied with crisp clarity. Been a member since 2018. The cart rentals are under my name. Charge me for the damage, both carts. I turned to Brad. Unless Brad wants to foot the bill. Since he's already been riding my wife, seems only fair he pays for the ride. Someone in the gathering crowd let out a muffled laugh. Tom stayed focused, pretending not to notice, scribbling furiously. Cause of the incident? He asked. Caught my wife cheating, I said flatly. Write that down. Temporary loss of sanity due to marital betrayal. Actually, scratch that. Just say justified anger. My attorney will have a field day with this. Richard stepped closer, voice low. Stephen, please. Let's not make this any worse. Consider your standing, your reputation. I laughed, bitter and sharp. My reputation? I wasn't the one creeping around behind someone's back. I didn't reduce a wedding vow to a punchline. My reputation's just fine. Natalie tried again. Stephen, can we please just go home and talk? Home? I echoed, pulling my phone out once more. I scrolled until I found the contact. 2 rings. A one locksmith, the voice rasped. Gary, this is Stephen Brooks. I need you at my house within the hour. Every lock, doors, garage, everything changed. It's urgent. Saturday rates? I don't care. Just get it done. I ended the call and turned back to Natalie. Sorry, what were you saying about going home? Chapter 11. The Walk of Shame. Security finally showed up. 2 golf carts with blinking yellow lights, like some miniature version of the cops. Richard conferred with them in hushed tones before facing us again. I'm going to have to ask all 3 of you to leave the premises, he said evenly. Stephen, your membership will be reviewed at the next board meeting. Sounds fair, I replied, but I'd like a police-style escort to the parking lot. Flash the lights. Make it unforgettable. Richard gave a tired nod to the security team. And so began our ridiculous march off the 7th hole. Less a retreat, more a tragic procession. Me in front, shoulders square, phone still rolling. Brad and Natalie trailed behind, grass stains on their clothes, shame clinging to every step. She still didn't have her other sandal. The carts flanked us, yellow lights flashing, as we made our exit like the saddest parade ever seen. It felt like the entire Oakwood Country Club had turned out for the show. The patio restaurant overlooking the parking lot was jammed with onlookers. Breakfasts sat untouched as heads swiveled to follow our humiliating procession. Several patrons had their phones raised, capturing every second of the spectacle. When we reached the lot, I turned to face the crowd and made my announcement. Brad, HR expects you in their office Monday morning. Natalie, don't bother going home. The locks are being changed right now. I watched Natalie's expression collapse, utterly and completely. 18 years reduced to this. No calm discussions in a lawyer's office, just a public unraveling. There were grass stains on my pants, golf carts abandoned nearby, and the morning sun shining mercilessly on all of us. Brad's shiny Mercedes sat beside an old Civic with a faded baby-on-board decal. Nobody missed the bitter symbolism. As Brad fumbled clumsily with his car keys, I added one last parting shot. You know that promotion you were chasing? The one you thought was in the bag? Mike Harrison's a regular here. Pretty sure he's already caught wind of this. Best of luck with that. Chapter 12. The dust settles. I sat behind the wheel of my truck for a few minutes, engine humming, AC on full blast. The adrenaline was fading, leaving my hands trembling. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Jim. Bro, did you seriously crash a golf cart? Something about Natalie. My brother David. Steven, what the actual hell? Someone just sent me a video. Is that Natalie? Paul from our golf group. We're at the 10th hole. Should we wait or... My mother. Steven, something's on Facebook about you and Natalie. Call me now. And then my son Tyler. Dad, Coach just showed me a video. What's happening? That last one landed hard. I quickly typed a message to the family group chat. Yes, that was Natalie. Yes, she's been having an affair with someone I work with. Yes, I'm divorcing her. No, I don't regret what I did with the golf cart. We'll talk more soon. Handling legal stuff now. Then I sent Tyler a private message. I'm sorry you had to find out like this. You and Emma aren't to blame. This is between your mom and me. I love you both. We'll talk tonight and explain everything. My phone rang. It was Laura Chen, hands down the best divorce attorney in the county, and conveniently, a fellow Oakwood member. Steven, she said, skipping any small talk, I saw everything from the patio. I'm clearing my schedule for Monday. Can you come in at 2? That was quick. Video proof of cheating, a crowd full of witnesses, one of them a judge, and a police report to top it off, she continued. This case is a gift. Bring all your financial records. We're going to move fast. I drove home on autopilot. The neighborhoods I'd driven through 1,000 times looked unfamiliar now. The Starbucks where Natalie always ordered her overpriced lattes. The gym she suddenly became religious about 5 days a week. The hotel on Route 9, suspiciously close to Brad's office. Everything in hindsight fell into place. Chapter 13. Back home. Gary's van was already parked in my driveway when I pulled in. Always dependable. He was crouched at the front door with his toolkit laid open. Break in? He asked without looking up, already removing the lock. Something along those lines. I pulled a cold beer from the fridge in the garage and handed it to him. Change every lock and make sure to reset the garage remote too. He nodded and got to work. Inside, I started the process. 18 years of shared history to dismantle piece by piece. I wasn't bitter, not exactly, but I was meticulous. I began with her wardrobe. No dramatic theatrics, no throwing things into the yard like a bad movie trope. I packed each item into garbage bags, carefully categorized. Dresses went in one. Everyday clothes in another. The lingerie, some still with tags, most of it unfamiliar, went into a third. Each bag was neatly stacked in the garage, lined up by the door. The jewelry stayed. Laura had told me that counted as joint property. Same went for the couch, the TV, and anything else we'd bought together. But her personal effects, the avalanche of cosmetics in the bathroom, the endless romance paperbacks, the irony stung. The remnants of hobbies she'd picked up and dropped over the years, those all got packed. Then I found the credit card statements I'd been dodging. 3 months of transactions that suddenly clicked into place. That lunch with her mom at the Ritz. The shopping day with Sarah that included a charge from a lingerie boutique 30 miles away. The book club dinner at the city's most intimate restaurant. Behind the rows of heels in her closet, I uncovered a shoebox. Inside, a burner phone with battery still holding, a Marriott room key from downtown, and a greeting card with Brad's handwriting. To my golf goddess, every moment with you is a hole-in-one. I actually gagged. The doorbell rang. It was Mrs. Henderson from next door, balancing a casserole and a plate of cookies. I saw the footage, she said, walking right past me into the kitchen. She never deserved you. You think so? Please. Harold and I always said her eyes like to wander. Really? Oh, honey, the whole block noticed. All those spa visits? Come on, no one needs that much upkeep unless they're working to impress someone. She opened the fridge, frowned at how empty it was, and began shifting things to fit her casserole. When's the last time you ate? I honestly couldn't say. That's what I thought. This is my famous chicken casserole. Bake at 350 for 20 minutes. Comfort food. And I made cookies. Chocolate chip just this morning. Before I could respond, the doorbell rang again. Mr. Patel from across the street holding a steaming curry dish. Then the Johnsons appeared, bringing a slow-cooked pot roast. Within the hour, my fridge was crammed with neighborly compassion, and my kitchen had become ground zero for local gossip. I never liked her, Mrs. Johnson proclaimed, pouring mugs of coffee. Remember last year's block party? She didn't look up from her phone the entire time. She never came to book club either, added Mrs. Patel. Always had a reason to skip. Their intentions were kind, but I couldn't take much more. I thanked them all sincerely and gently ushered everyone out. I had calls to make. Chapter 14. The Monday Fallout. Monday came quickly. I'd spent all of Sunday with the kids, talking them through what they already knew from the internet. Tyler, 17 and trying to hold it together, hugged me like he hadn't in years. I knew something was off, he said. She was always somewhere else. Emma, 15 and far more open with her emotions, cried on my shoulder for over an hour. Then, through red eyes, she asked, "Can I live here with you full time?" "I'll make it work, sweetheart," I told her. "Whatever you need." By 7:45 a.m. Monday, I was pulling into the office lot. No sign of Brad's Mercedes yet, but Mike Harrison's Range Rover was already in its spot. I swiped my badge, took the elevator to the executive floor. Mike's assistant, Donna, met me with a look that said everything. "He's waiting for you. Brad's already here." "Already here?" I checked my watch, 7:47. I stepped into Mike's office to find Brad slumped in one of the guest chairs, looking like he hadn't closed his eyes all weekend. His hair, typically immaculate, now hung messily over his forehead, and his shirt bore the telltale creases of a sleepless night. Mike sat stiffly behind his desk, his expression unreadable. "Stephen," he said with a curt nod, "take a seat." I picked the chair farthest from Brad and sat without a word. Mike opened his laptop and rotated it toward us. The screen displayed a silent video, the incident from Saturday, my cart colliding with theirs, the shouting match that followed, the crowd that began to gather. He let the footage roll for half a minute before snapping the laptop shut. "I've also been over the Denver expense reports," he said, his voice low and controlled. "Room service charges for 2, champagne, late-night expenses, 2 a.m. He turned to Brad. "You were assigned a single occupancy room." Brad said nothing. "I've spoken to several employees as well. 3 to be exact. All of them saw you and Mrs. Brooks together, in the hotel lobby, at restaurants. One spotted your car and hers in the office garage late at night." Still, Brad remained silent. Mike exhaled and leaned back in his chair. "Brad, your employment is terminated, effective immediately. Security will accompany you to retrieve your belongings. Your final paycheck will be mailed. Please return the company vehicle by close of business today." "Mike, come on!" Brad finally spoke, desperation cutting through his voice. "I've been loyal for 8 years. Look at my performance." "Your metrics don't matter," Mike interrupted sharply. "You sabotaged team cohesion and fostered a toxic environment." He gestured toward me. "Stephen was one of our most respected employees. Was. Now I'm wondering if we're facing a lawsuit for emotional damage. That hadn't even occurred to me until now." He wasn't finished. "And let's not forget the lie about a family emergency. Instead, you were using company time and company funds to conduct an affair. What happened in Denver alone is grounds for dismissal." At that moment, 2 security officers appeared at the door. "One last thing," Mike said as Brad rose stiffly to his feet. "I'm a member at Oakwood, too. Richard Stanton gave me a call yesterday. You're no longer welcome there. Permanently banned." Brad turned to look at me, his eyes flickering with a strange mixture of fury and sorrow. I felt nothing. He'd made his decisions. Once Brad was gone, Mike turned back to me. "I'm sorry, Stephen. I mean that. If you need to take some time." "I need to work," I said. "Lawyers aren't cheap. The kids still need college. Life doesn't stop." Mike gave a slow nod. "For what it's worth, that video turned you into something of a legend around here. Half the office wants to buy you a drink." "Maybe someday," I replied. "Right now, I just want things to feel normal again." But normal? That wasn't coming anytime soon. Chapter 15. The financial fallout. Natalie came to understand the new financial landscape faster than expected. I'd taken Laura's advice step by step, no room for error. Our joint accounts were immediately frozen, locked tight as the divorce proceedings kicked off. Credit cards, canceled. The car, technically mine, was repossessed while she visited her sister. She called me screaming into the phone. I let it go to voicemail. Next, her sister called. "How could you humiliate her like this?" she demanded. "It was just one mistake." "It was 3 months of lies," I corrected. "And the humiliation?" She handled that herself. At a public golf course. At 8 in the morning. "She's staying here for now," her sister continued, voice tight. "But she needs money for—" "She can get a job," I cut her off. "I'm sure Walmart is hiring." Then I hung up. On Tuesday, Natalie walked into her regular Starbucks to grab her usual drink. Her card was declined. The barista, someone who'd seen her there every day, offered to cover the cost. Natalie burst into tears right there, surrounded by strangers in the middle of the morning rush. Of course, someone filmed the whole thing, naturally. By lunchtime, the same Facebook page that had posted the golf course footage had picked up the story. The headline read, "Tears over a latte, local woman exposed." The internet took no prisoners. The comments were merciless. The carefully curated circle of spa day companions, built from wine lunches, boutique shopping, and perfectly filtered selfies, vanished without a word. Even Marissa Williams, once the unofficial leader of the local social elite, chimed in beneath the post. "We had no clue she was like this. She won't be welcome at our get-togethers again." Brad wasn't escaping unscathed either. His wife, Lisa, had shown him the door as soon as she saw the footage. Now he was holed up in a budget suite at a long-stay hotel. His once polished LinkedIn page, filled with sales accolades and buzzwords, had been updated with a simple line, "Open to new opportunities." His most recent post, some self-congratulatory bit about ethics and leadership from just 2 weeks prior, had become a magnet for ridicule. "This aged like milk," someone wrote, attaching the now infamous video clip. By Thursday, Natalie had lawyered up. Not well. She couldn't afford someone of Laura Chen's level. Instead, she hired a discount attorney whose face decorated half the city's bus stops. He dialed Laura, attempting to negotiate. "My client is eligible for alimony," he opened. Laura laughed. Actually laughed. "Your client was filmed committing adultery, in broad daylight, with multiple witnesses, including a judge," she said coolly. "The prenuptial agreement includes an infidelity clause." "She's entitled to nothing. The prenup was signed under duress," he tried. 18 years ago, Laura countered. "Good luck arguing that. And we have receipts. Literally. Credit card statements showing she used joint funds to finance the affair. We'll be pursuing reimbursement." Natalie's attorney made 2 more half-hearted calls before advising her to consider mediation. Chapter 16. The Country Club's Answer. That Saturday, I made my way back to Oakwood. Not to golf. I wasn't ready to look at the 7th hole again. I went for the board meeting Richard had mentioned. I wore my sharpest suit and brought a folder full of supporting documents. The boardroom was packed. 12 members I'd come to know over years of tea times and tournaments. Judge Martinez sat at one end, Dr. Patterson nearby, along with several local business figures. Richard Stanton stood at the head of the table. "Stephen," he addressed me, his tone formal. "We've reviewed last weekend's incident." I braced myself. Destruction of property, public disturbance, surely this would end in a ban. "We do not condone damage to club assets," he continued. Here it comes, I thought. Lifetime ban. Fine. I just transferred to Pinebrook. But given the exceptional nature of the events, he went on, we're making an exception. Several board members had witnessed the entire episode firsthand. Judge Martinez cleared his throat. "In all my years overseeing divorce court, I've never seen such blatant, well-documented infidelity. And they used club grounds to carry it out." Dr. Patterson nodded. "Brad Pearson wasn't even a member. He had no right to be there. The liability issues alone." Richard spoke again. "The board voted, unanimously. First, all repair charges are being dismissed. The report will state that the carts were damaged during the process of apprehending trespassers." I blinked. "Come again?" "Second, your membership is fully intact. No suspension. No disciplinary action. Though we'd ask you avoid the seventh hole temporarily, groundskeeping needs time to restore the area. I managed a stunned thank you. Third, Richard continued, allowing the faintest smile, Brad Pearson has been permanently banned. His photo has been circulated to all staff. If he sets foot on the premises again, we'll have him charged with trespassing. And lastly, Judge Martinez added, we'd like to upgrade your membership to gold status for the rest of the year, on the house. A small apology for our failure to prevent unauthorized access. As I walked out of that room, I felt something I hadn't experienced all week. Vindication. Chapter 17. The Divorce on Fast Forward. Laura Chen didn't just practice law, she wielded it. Within 14 days, she had filed for divorce, put a freeze on our joint accounts, and meticulously documented every dollar Natalie had funneled into her affair. That prenup, so fiercely argued over back then, signed amid her tears and accusations that I didn't trust her, had held up perfectly. She's entitled only to what she brought into the marriage, Laura said flatly. Her personal effects. No alimony, no portion of your retirement savings. She can try for temporary support, she added. But with that footage? No judge will grant it. The initial court date was scheduled for 3 weeks out. Natalie's bargain bin attorney tried to stall, citing lack of prep time. Laura shut it down with just 5 words. My client wants this resolved. In those days, everything felt like a strange dream I couldn't quite shake. Each morning, I'd wake up alone in the king-sized bed, my bed now, and instinctively reach for someone who no longer shared it. Then reality would settle in, and a fresh wave of rage would crash through me. Tyler and Emma lived with me full-time. Natalie was granted visitation, but Emma outright refused. She ruined everything, Emma would declare with the unyielding certainty only teenagers possess. I don't want to see her. Tyler gave it one try. He came home silent. She cried the whole visit, he eventually said. Kept saying it was a mistake. Brad had cut her off. Naturally. He was in damage control, trying to salvage his marriage, his reputation. Natalie had been exciting once when she was carefree and convenient. Now she was just a risk. When our first court hearing rolled around, I put on my sharpest suit. Natalie appeared in a familiar dress, one I had given her for our anniversary 2 years earlier. She looked thinner, worn down. Her sister sat behind her in the gallery. Laura laid out our case like a surgeon with a scalpel. The footage, the financials, testimonies, the prenuptial agreement. Judge Williams, not Martinez, thankfully, to prevent any whiff of partiality, reviewed it all without a flicker of emotion. Natalie's attorney made a lackluster appeal, citing emotional hardship, nearly 2 decades of marriage. He even dared to call it a momentary lapse in judgment. 3 months doesn't qualify as momentary, Judge Williams said without looking up. It was over in less than an hour. Divorce finalized due to infidelity. Prenup enforced, no spousal support. Natalie kept what she'd brought into the marriage, nothing more. She'd also cover my legal expenses. We were granted joint custody, but Emma's preferences carried weight due to her age. Natalie wept openly as the judge read the decree. Her sister's stare bored into me from the back of the room. I didn't feel victory. There was no sense of justice. Just a hollow ache. 18 years, erased in under 60 minutes. Chapter 18. Half a year later, life had found its new shape. I'd gone through the house and stripped out every remnant of Natalie's existence. The kids adapted faster than I'd anticipated. Tyler had been accepted early to state, partial basketball scholarship. Emma buried herself in academics and theater. I dipped a toe into dating again. Nothing too serious. Sarah, who I met through the cycling club, got a real kick out of the infamous golf cart story. Most guys would have just yelled, she said, laughing on our 3rd date. You basically reenacted a NASCAR crash. That's commitment. Saturday golf was back on with the guys. We even played the 7th hole again, though I couldn't help the knot in my gut when we reached it. The crash site had become legend. New club members heard the tale within days, each version more dramatic than the last. That's where Brooks found out, became as common as, that's where Johnson got his ace. Brad had skipped town. Last update, he'd taken a lower-level job in Phoenix. His wife left him, took the baby, and moved in with her parents. His LinkedIn showed a clear step down, Once a regional sales director, now an account manager at a smaller firm. The internet is merciless. Natalie lived alone in a downtown studio. She worked retail now, at the same department store where she used to shop. There's a certain poetic justice in that. Tyler mentioned she was seeing someone new, a fellow employee. I wished her well, in a vague, indifferent way. She'd faded into the background of my life, a name from a different chapter. Emma met her for lunch once a month, reluctantly. She always asks about you, Emma told me after one of their visits. Wants to know if you're doing okay? What do you say to her? You tell her the truth, that life's going well, and it genuinely was. The house was mine, paid off in full. I'd redirected the money I would have spent on alimony and used it to eliminate the mortgage entirely. The kids' college savings were fully funded. At work, I'd landed a promotion, partly out of office sympathy, but mostly because I'd buried myself in the job, with a kind of focused urgency I hadn't had before. Saturday golf still happened, but now it felt like a reward, not an escape route. Chapter 19. The final round. Exactly 1 year after everything went down, Oakwood hosted its annual club championship. I signed up on impulse, didn't expect anything to come from it. Sure, my game had gotten better. Call it anger therapy via golf like I joked to the guys, but I was still your average mid-handicap player. Somehow I made it to the finals. Sunday morning I teed off with 3 other finalists. One of them was Dr. Patterson. It felt like the entire club came out to watch. Then we got to the 7th hole. Par 4, subtle dogleg to the left. Those familiar oak trees still stood guard over the bend. I stepped onto the tee box, driver in hand, and let the weight of it all settle in. Not the pressure of the tournament. That didn't really matter. It was the symbolism of the moment. Coming full circle. Take your time, Brooks, Dr. Patterson said softly. I'm not, I told him. It's just another hole. But that wasn't true. It was the hole where everything in my life had broken, and then begun to rebuild. Where I'd lost my wife and gained something like a backbone. Where Stephen Brooks, the bland suburban family man, finally snapped and did something unforgettable. I crushed the drive, dead center. Cleared the trees past the old crash site. The ball landed in perfect position, settled right where it needed to be. The crowd clapped. Someone, probably Jim, shouted, "Now that's how you play the 7th." 4 hours later, I stood in the clubhouse, holding the championship trophy in my hands. It wasn't a PGA event, just a club title. But to me, it felt massive. Richard Stanton gave a short speech about sportsmanship and club values. I took the mic and thanked everyone for standing by me during a rough year. The room burst into cheers. Everyone knew what I meant. At the victory dinner that evening, surrounded by people who actually cared, I felt something I hadn't in a long time. Not joy exactly, that would come later, but something calmer, something steadier. Contentment. Peace. My phone buzzed. An Instagram tag. Jim had posted a photo, me holding the trophy on the 7th hole. His caption read, "Sometimes the best drives aren't with a golf club. Congrats to our club champ. Number new beginnings, number champion life," quote. I saw that Natalie had viewed it from a fake account. The username was a string of random letters, but the profile photo gave it away. A sunset from that trip to Hawaii 5 years ago. She'd liked the post, then unliked it. But the app had already sent me the notification. I thought about blocking her. In the end, I didn't. Let her see. Let her know what she threw away. For a few secret months with someone else. Brad left a comment, also from a burner account. "Congrats, rats. That one I did block. Some bridges once torched aren't worth rebuilding." Chapter 20. The last word. Oakwood's newsletter featured a spread about the club championship. They ran photos. Me with the trophy. Action shots from the final round. Candid moments from the dinner. The editor added a tongue-in-cheek sidebar, noting the club's new improvements to cart safety and enhanced security measures to prevent unauthorized access to the course. Everybody understood what that headline meant. Tyler forwarded me the article from college. "Dad, you're famous." His roommate Googled me, and the first result? The golf cart story. Now he thinks I'm some kind of legend. Emma even had the article framed and hung in my office. "Most dads just get divorced," she quipped. "You made yours unforgettable." The kids were doing more than okay. Thriving, really. Tyler had earned a walk-on spot with the state basketball team. Emma scored the lead role in the school play. They'd taken something real from the wreckage. That choices carry weight. That pride has value. That sometimes you don't stay quiet, you make noise. Natalie reached out on what would have been our 19th anniversary. A long emotional email. Regret. What ifs. How Brad had manipulated her. I didn't open it. The Gmail preview told me enough. She made her bed. We all did. And life moved on. Sarah and I got serious. She moved in after a year, breathing life into a house that had felt empty. The kids adored her. She didn't try to replace their mom. She just became a trusted friend. She played golf too, terribly, but she gave it her all. The first time we hit the 7th hole together, she asked if I wanted to skip it. No, I said. It's just a hole. And that's all it was. Just grass and trees. Just another part of the course. The past was behind us. Still, on some Saturdays, when the morning sun fell just right and the course was still, the memories came back, her laugh echoing through the trees. Them, side by side in that cart, and the blazing clarity of the rage that had fueled my 15-mile-per-hour reckoning. Was it worth it? Every time I asked myself, the answer was the same. Absolutely. The incident didn't just cost me a marriage. It handed me something better, my self-respect. The certainty that Stephen Brooks didn't back down when it counted. That even if good guys finish last, they can do it with a roar, not a whisper. The 7th hole at Oakwood wasn't just where I caught my wife cheating. It was where I stopped letting things slide. Where I drew a line and stepped over it, changed. The trophy on my office shelf still caught the afternoon sun. Club champion. Not bad for a guy who once picked up golf just to escape the suburbs. Not bad for someone who turned humiliation into local folklore. Brad? Still in Phoenix last I checked. Still trying to climb out of the mess. Still blocked everywhere. Natalie stayed in town. Still behind a retail counter. Still facing the aftermath. The designer brand's gone, replaced with whatever her employee discount could cover. Spa appointments swapped out for back-to-back shifts. The comfortable life reduced to a single-room apartment. As for me, I still spent Saturdays on the course. Still making deals during the week. Still raising 2 incredible kids who'd learned what integrity really costs and why it's worth it. Life wasn't what I expected, but it was good. Really good. The cart? The club had it fixed up and put back into circulation. Sometimes I'd be assigned number 47 without warning. I'd drive it with care, nothing flashy. Just another cart. No different from the rest. But I'd remember. And I'd grin. Because sometimes the most satisfying drives aren't made with a club in hand. Sometimes they happen behind the wheel of a golf cart, aimed straight at betrayal, fueled by fury that felt like justice, and followed by not a single ounce of regret. Every dollar I didn't have to spend, worth it. Epilogue. The call came 2 years later on a Tuesday. It was Laura Chen, the first time I'd heard her voice since the divorce was finalized. "Stephen, I thought you should know," she said. "Natalie's attorney got in touch. She wants to revise the divorce terms." "Let me guess," I said. "She's after more money." "No, actually," Laura replied. "She wants to issue a formal apology. In writing. For the court to record." I almost dropped my phone. "Wait, what?" "She's been going to therapy," Laura explained. "As part of her healing process, she wants to own up to what happened. She's releasing you from any potential future claims. Her therapist will attend when it's signed." "What's the angle?" I asked. "There isn't one," she said. "She doesn't benefit from this. If anything, it reinforces your legal protection. I think she just wants to let go." I took a week to think it over. Ran it by Sarah. Spoke with the kids. Eventually, I said yes. We met at Laura's office, neutral territory. Natalie walked in and she looked changed. Older, yes, but also calmer. That restless, erratic energy she used to carry was gone, replaced by something quieter, more contained. "Stephen," she said softly, "thank you for coming." I nodded, didn't trust myself to speak. She pulled out a sheet of paper and read aloud. She admitted the affair. The deception, the damage she'd done to the family. She didn't try to explain it away with talk of manipulation or confusion. She simply owned it. "I broke our marriage," she said. "I hurt you. I hurt our children. I hurt myself. I'm deeply sorry. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just needed you to hear the truth from me." I signed the acknowledgement, shook her attorney's hand, started for the door. "Stephen," she said. "The kids, how are they?" "They're doing great," I answered, turning to face her. "Really great. I'm glad, she said quietly. That's good. We looked at each other across the table. 18 years of marriage, 2 years of separation. And here it all was, distilled into this one moment. Take care, Natalie, I said, and meant it. You too, she replied. Walking out of that office, I felt something I hadn't in a long time. Not forgiveness, some wounds never close. But I felt free. The final thread between us, aside from the kids, had been cut. Out in the parking lot, I called Sarah. How do you feel about Marcello's for dinner tonight? Special occasion? She asked. Just felt like celebrating the now, I said. That evening, over pasta and red wine, I told her everything. She held my hand as I talked. Listened. Understood. Any regrets? She asked. I paused, thought hard. About the marriage. The divorce. And that infamous golf cart moment that somehow became neighborhood folklore. No, I said finally. Not one. And I meant it. The journey had been messy, painful, and absurd at times. But it led here, to this restaurant, this woman, and the life I rebuilt from the wreckage of the one I lost. Outside, we watched a golf cart ferry guests from the lot. We glanced at each other and cracked up. Some stories end in forgiveness, others in vengeance. Mine ended in laughter, in love, and in the understanding that sometimes the wildest detours bring you to the most honest version of yourself. At Oakwood, the 7th hole was just a golf hole again. But it would always be the place where Stephen Brooks stopped seeing himself as the casualty and became the hero of his own story, one golf cart at a time.